Now that we have everything planned out, we're going to have to start waxing the cones. So we have to decide which side we're going to do cusp-to-fossa and which side we're going to do cusp-to-marginal ridge. So we're just going to close it up and check out, see what lines up where. So what we'll do is we're going to draw some lines, because these dots for the cusp tips, we're gonna have to see it from the buccal side. So just gonna make some lines. To see where these cusp tips end up and where we're going to have to change some of them, depending on whether or not we're doing cusp-to-fossa or cusp-to-marginal ridge. So I just draw the line straight out to the buccal surface and then down a little bit. And we'll close it up. We're going to take a look at, see where the lines go. Now for the cusp-to-fossa, we're going to have to make sure that the cusp tip of the mandibular ends up in the mesial fossa of the premolars, and then the mesial fossa of the molars on the upper. And then the second cusp tip, which is the distobuccal cusp tip, will end up in the central fossa of the maxillary right here. So if we take a look at those lines, we can see approximately that's where these will end up. So if we follow the lines, this cusp tip is going to end up in the mesial fossa, this cusp tip is going to end up in the central fossa. The mesial cusp tip of the second molar on the mandibular is going to end up in the mesial fossa of the maxillary for second molar, and then the distobuccal cusp tip of the mandibular will end up in the central fossa of the maxillary. If we follow the cusp tips of the mandibular premolars, it looks like they might end up just in the right place where we need it to be. So the right side here will have a cusp-to-fossa relationship, so we can actually mark it here as a cusp-to-fossa. So let's mark it CF. Now we're gonna check out the contralateral side, and according to that we can see that this premolar cusp tip will end up in the marginal ridge of the maxillary premolar. Same thing here, it's going to end up, this cusp tip on the mandibular will end up right in the marginal ridge of the maxillary. So if we turn it around, you can see where is this pointing. It's pointing right at the marginal ridges. So because of this, we're going to make this side, which is the left side, into the cusp-to-marginal ridge side. So we can see the molar. We'll have to move this cusp tip a little bit mesial to end up right at the marginal ridge, and the distal buccal cusp is in the right place. That will end up in the central fossa of the first molar. Now on the second molar, we're gonna see this cusp tip is gonna end up in the mesial fossa, so we're gonna have to try to make that as much as feasible to the mesial, so that it can end up as close as possible to the mesial marginal ridge. And then the distal buccal cusp will end up just slightly distal to the central fossa of the maxillary second molar. So now we can see that our plan is going to be this way. So we're going to put cusp to marginal ridge on this side. So there we go. Now we have to start building our cones.